A victory for Ron Paul. The Texas congressman swept the state of Minnesota in the Republican Party convention there. Look at these headlines from over the weekend. Ron Paul wins Minnesota big. Ron Paul racks up delegates in Minnesota. Ron Paul supporters dominate Minnesota GOP convention. What's next? That is correct. The dark horse in the Republican presidential race won 12 of the 13 delegate slots. So now in total, 32 of Minnesota's 40 national delegates to the Republican convention will go to Paul. Now, this is a huge win for Paul's supporters, especially after the presidential candidate announced he would stop campaigning in states due to lack of funding. So what does this mean for Paul's campaign and his supporters? Joining us now to talk more about this is Ted Anderson, president of GCNlive.com, that is. Hi, Ted. So you are one of the delegates. Given the fact that many people are now saying Ron Paul won't win the nomination at this point, what were you trying to achieve by voting for him?
Well, certainly we're going to gain a lot of popularity in this national convention that's coming up. Who knows? There may be even some seat that's offered to Ron Paul or part of the cabinet. It's hard to say. But, you know, the thing about it is that we do have a Senate candidate now. His name is Kurt Bills. He is a Ron Paul supporter. He was endorsed by Ron Paul. It's really more about the message. I mean, if people are concerned about big government and they'd like to see things shrink, Ron Paul was the answer, certainly not Mitt Romney. So hopefully Mitt Romney pays attention to it. Ron Paul supporters, no question about it, took over the Republican convention. And really, we hold all the seats in the Republican campaign in Minnesota. So if Romney wants to have any say-so in the state of Minnesota, he'll have to start taking heed and listen to the message that we put forth.
And as you say, this message, and some say that Ron Paul supporters, it's not necessarily about winning. It's not the end game, but it is about this message, the Ron Paul message. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, come on, we want more liberty, we want less government spending, sound currency. We're tired of fighting wars across the world with no prevail to our own. We're sick and tired of going into debt and selling off our children's future. I mean, just about everybody wants that. Everybody talks about it, but when you send the politicians to Washington, they come back with bigger government and more debt. And this is a spiral that we just don't want to continue, and that's why you're seeing what you're seeing.
Now, Ron Paul has announced, or he announced not too long ago, that he's going to stop actively campaigning in states that haven't yet held primaries. Instead, he's focusing on this delegate strategy. So this win in Minnesota is this evidence that his delegate strategy is working.
It sure is. And it's going to happen in Texas as well. And I predict a good outcome in California. And, you know, Romney may get the nod coming into this thing, but who knows? He may not. I mean, it takes the 1,400 delegates in order for that to happen, and he's still short of that. He's in the 900 range, and I don't know if he'll get there or not. If he doesn't, he's certainly going to have to negotiate his win. It's not going to come that easy.
And, you know, at this point, a lot of people are saying that Romney has the nomination. And, you know, Ron Paul has admitted that he doesn't necessarily have the funds to continue campaigning. So many are asking, why continue the fight?
Well, it's just the importance of liberty. It's the importance of constitutional government. I mean, the United States government has been ignoring the Constitution. We have a currency that's just gone wild. You know, we watch the Fed bail out foreign countries now with our money. The people that have, you know, retired, saved money and in hopes for a future for themselves are watching their savings get eaten away by inflation. I mean, it's no surprise that people are concerned, they're upset, and you can see that happening in Minnesota. That's why there's so much support for Ron Paul, and there's certainly support across the rest of the nation too. I can see it. I'm actively involved. We posted our stories on GCNlive.com. You can read them there. You can tell that there is an underlying movement that's happening, and it'll continue to grow in the future.
All right. So this victory in Minnesota, ultimately, what does it mean for Ron Paul's campaign and his supporters?
Well, what it's going to mean is that there's just going to be more synergy. There's going to be more momentum, more energy being pushed into the campaign. Every victory grabs more people. You have this certain amount of, well, he can't win anyway, so why should we support him? So when you see a win coming along like this in Minnesota, that's why, Texas and California are the two big ticket items that are left on the agenda. I think that we'll do pretty good in Texas since that's Ron Paul's state. California, I'm pretty sure that we'll do pretty well there as well.
Okay, so he took on Minnesota, was successful there. What is the next step in terms of moving forward from here?
Well, the next step is to organize in Texas and win that primary, and obviously California too. I mean, the more delegates that we have walking into that convention, the more clout that we'll have when it comes to negotiate policy. Our candidate, Kurt Bills, is going to need to raise a lot of funds to fight off his opponent, Amy Klobuchar, which has been dug into the big government's big spending scheme for many years, Democrat, and we need to defeat her. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to get the grassroots out there. We're going to support it, push it, and the future is in Rand Paul, Kurt Bills, all the liberty-minded candidates. That is where the win can be made. I mean, Ron Paul not being president, is not the end of it. Ron Paul has gained momentum for so many years and stuck hard to his morals and his values, and he stands for principle. And one of the very few candidates that will just simply vote against, raising the debt limits, going off and fighting wars in places that we just can't afford to do. We need to build. We need to get our house in order here in the United States. Nobody can argue that. Romney has always been a big spender, and there's a good chance that, if we don't stand up and do something, it's going to continue. It's going to be business as usual in Washington, and the people of the United States is tired of it, and we're fighting against it. And the Ron Paul campaign is a reflection of that. All
right, there you have it. One of Ron Paul's many dedicated supporters. Ted, thanks for coming on the show. That was Ted Anderson, president of GCNlive.com.